Okay, good. Take a deep breath in, close your eyes, breathe out the mouth. So you're gonna take a deep breath in the mouth, in the nose, and sigh it out the mouth. In the nose, sigh it out. Slowly open your eyes. Good. Okay, so what do you think beauty is? What is beauty to you? Is beauty in the eye of the beholder, or beauty is an objective thing, or a highly subjective thing, or what is your take on beauty?
I think that it's always and it always will be subjective. It would never be objective. We can always consider something objective, but that's only because the majority says that it's the right thing, But I'll give you a perfect example of that. I remember when we were younger, and there was this really, really horrible alcoholic drink called Alizé. You know, I know that you don't do publicity spots, but I'm gonna do an anti-publicity spot. Alizé was some nasty shit, dude. But because everyone's like, yeah, this is what you have to drink. They got like peach flavored, mango flavored, and it was the most disgusting thing ever. But we were young, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And but that's the case that I wanted to bring up. We is based off of what we consider, as a vox populi, as a huge majority. What do we consider beauty? Is it symmetry? Is it strong cheekbones? Is it broad shoulders in a man? Saying, is it wide hips in a female? And this, because we notice that even if we think about it really, Rich, you know, we're pretty much well traveled, and I'm not going to say, I'm not trying to talk about anybody, that we might know, but we are also well cultured in the fact that we've lived with and um, lots of different cultures. So we know that what might be considered objectively beautiful in one place is not so in a particular community, a particular culture. They may consider, I don't know, really like thin, nearly anorexic women as the most attractive. Saying they may think of blonde, saying 6 feet tall dudes as saying attractive. Whereas those things might be actually deterrents for other groups, other cultures, and other people. And the same thing is even said for arts. We even talked about this when we talked about our art podcast a couple months ago. That is it really objective? Saying if you might think of it as beautiful, but I don't. So yeah, I think it's always subjective. It might be a majority subjective or a minority subjective, but it's always subjective, in my opinion. I don't know. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, so then what do you think about a
What
lot
about
of
you?
the? I always think it's subjective. I definitely think beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Okay.
But I think because of social norms and social peer pressure, I would say, or groupthink mentality, we
Uh-huh.
tend to like identify with like, oh, that person or this thing or that drink is much more beautiful or better tasting. But I think there is a lot that
Yeah.
goes into like biology and like just like Darwinism.
Okay.
That I think that maybe women throughout history are attracted to men with bigger features, stronger features, and stronger face line because that kind of triggers in a person's brain that person can take care of that person because they're a strong man. And maybe with a woman with
No, definitely. Yeah,
woman with
definitely.
bigger hips,
Yeah.
that
There is that natural
that
aspect.
triggers in the man like, oh, she can spread my seed because no matter what, at the basic core
Yeah.
level, our nervous system is wired
Hmm.
to reproduce. That's to reproduce our population. So women are attracted to men that they believe that can help them reproduce the population, and men are attracted to women that reproduce, and
Uh-huh.
that's what they define as beauty. That's hardwired in us. So I think that can be a
Yeah.
very objective component, but overall, I think it is subjective. What we define as beauty.
Yeah, but would you consider that beauty? Because like you said, yeah, I agree with you completely. There's a thing about natural, saying that natural instinct of procreation and and moving forward, saying and pushing forward into the future, one's own seed. But yet I think that is objective. Just like any virus, any spore, any bacterium. They always want to procreate and to enhance and proliferate.
Mhm.
But that's the natural aspect. But would you consider Richard beauty as something which is naturalistic? Like we said before, if she has the childbearing hips, so something that's hardwired in our DNA says, "Oh, wait a minute, that's not my type, but look at those hips though, and like something hits you, or saying like a woman might say, man, like, oh, that's not my type, but look at those broad shoulders. For sure he would, saying his seed along with my, along with my egg will, bring prosperity to our race, our species. Do you think that those two things are interconnected, if they're separate, or if they're the same thing?
No,
What do
that's
you
interesting.
think?
I don't think they're quite the same thing. I definitely think they are interconnected. I think we make a lot of decisions based on very subconscious seeds that's been planted that sometimes we don't even realize they've been planted. You know what I'm saying? Some of it just comes, it originates from the beginning of all species. That need to procreate, the need to
Okay.
pass the seed along. So yeah, and I think and I think that subconscious belief or emotion colors our preferences in life. So I think there is definitely that. But I
Okay.
think there's also, a lot of it is also based on like what each person's own idiosyncrasies are attracted to. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of those idiosyncrasies are
Okay.
shaped and molded by the society they live in. Also, so like you live in society where like
But do you think they could be different?
what I think what do you mean?
You think it'd be different from their society or whatnot, as you were saying before?
What
You're, and that's more of the nature, the nurture versus nature aspect. So you think that if their society, their upbringings, their surroundings, kind of push that on them, do you think that they can actually break that mold and have different idiosyncrasies, as you said?
Well, I think it always starts with awareness. I
So
think I
like,
think the more aware you are, a lot of people are just not
okay,
even aware of what's going on.
okay,
Yeah, so most people say
okay,
they
okay,
just they get. We know there's a Buddhist proverb or Zen. I don't want to misquote it because you're big on that misquoting. But the gist of it is this:
mhm,
if you a lot of times you are attached to your karma because you're attached to your preferences. So if you keep on preferring this, you keep on
okay,
preferring that in
okay,
life, you keep on getting the same old shit. You wonder
okay.
why you keep on getting the same old shit.
Exactly, exactly,
You're
exactly,
not broadening one's
exactly.
horizons. One is not broadening their horizons and being open to new possibilities, and new things. So
Okay,
of course, the older we get stuck in a mold, and we start liking the same things over and over and over again. And a lot of it is based on, like you said, like societal norms and idiosyncrasies that we form based on like our family, the culture that we live in, the climate that we live in, all of the above. It affects what we determine as beautiful or attractive, you know. But I think the more aware you are of all these little things, then you can start seeing things from a different perspective. Yeah. So.
all right. Well, no, because the main reason why I asked you that, because like you said, and I completely agree with you. Some people, they become aware of what's going on, but as we know, in the majority of cases, especially with you, who's a person whose life and work and profession and personal and professional life are involved in, saying, in trying to seek enlightenment, or awareness. For sure, you encounter a lot of people who don't have that. So what my question was is, for example, when we take into consideration these things, what the nurture part of our nature is, what's considered, beautiful based off of society and things like that. So when we think of I don't want to say any particular celebrities, but let's take someone whose initials are KK, who was married to a particular K West. You know what I'm saying? So you see these people, they have like,
Mhm.
20-inch waists and like 700-inch hips. You know what I'm saying? Because they had like these booty injections, or not booty injections, but these booty implants. You know what I'm saying, with like silicone and things like that. These are things that this modification of our physical self starts to become or welcome because she's really, 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 really popular. You know what I'm saying? Or because she's taking a concept, an ideal based off of a nurture mentality for a particular group of people and exaggerating it.
Mhm.
So not only do I have a big butt, but I have like the most super biggest butt ever. So do we decipher? How do we determine from using other things which are non-natural in order to create this subjectively objective beauty that so many people might grasp onto.
Well, I live in Los Angeles, so even before that lady named
Exactly,
KK
exactly, exactly.
became very popular, plastic surgery and this modification of the human body has been going on for a long time in Los Angeles, ever since I've been here for 25 years now. So, my
Yeah,
whole take is like
exactly.
this: if it makes people happy and they're not bothering anybody, so be it. But it does it really make them happy? I don't know. I see a lot of people, they don't look too happy. You know what I'm saying? So and then I think maybe overall it might not have a direct effect on our environment, but it has an indirect environment, especially on young women in our lives, and even young men now, because young men are very
Okay.
obsessed with their beauty more than ever now too. So a lot of young men and young women who are neurotic about the way they look based on these images they see of KK and all that stuff like that. So it does have an effect on the overall community of people, and like, and what we're defining as beautiful, based, a lot of it is genetically modified, and now what you see on social media is AI that enhanced. So it's almost like this show Carbon. What is it called? Carbon, Altered Carbon. You ever seen Altered Carbon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also carbon. Yeah, yeah. No, dark
No,
carbon,
it's
dark
all. It
carbon.
was called Altered Carbon.
Oh, the television series, the television series. Also carbon. Yes, I have
Altered
seen it.
Carbon.
Yes,
So
yes,
like,
I have. Yeah,
people
fantastic.
that
No,
can
no,
buy
exactly,
skins from other people, especially if you're wealthy, and you can
exactly,
live there
exactly,
for hundreds
exactly.
of
Yeah,
years. And so that's kind of like, like that.
exactly.
We're really stepping into that age of altered reality. So it started with the phones, and now the social media. Now, like, the next, apparatus will be like some form of Oculus operating, or platform where we can
Okay.
observe and, do all our stuff online with wearing a pair of glasses. So,
Yeah,
so
I want to play devil's advocate with you on a couple of
okay.
cases here because the way you're talking about that, um, for example, I'm going to take what you said about people being happy. Like they do it to make them happy, but but in the end, you see that sometimes they're still not
Mhm.
happy. They have like they've done that last Botox shot, like what I'm saying, like 25 minutes ago, but they still seem unhappy and unpleased. Okay, who are we to judge if they're unhappy or pleased? But that's what they let off, right? Or they may get implants, or saying they may get their butt or their buttocks redone, things like that, liposuction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not talking about in cases where it can be life threatening, because there are some cases where people may suffer from obesity to the level that they have to do liposuction, or I don't want to put anyone on blast, but a person that both you and I know had to have a breast reduction because there was or growth in one of her breasts, So, and she got them both done. Those are two different things, But I'm talking about as far as the beautification part goes. But as one of my favorite rappers, who's very controversial, Eminem once said, a lot of people get, saying they get redone, saying they become, plastic just to get angry when people who are considered low level, these bums, these scrubs, these, people who are not billionaires, are catcalling them about those same things, So I'm not saying that, they've put themselves into this oxymoronic paradox, but what I'm saying is that can we as society get angry that, okay, I'm slobbering over this girl who has these, like, these triple D cups, what I'm saying, but it's being redone, and she's like, what are you looking at? Like, you the one that got them redone, what I'm saying, to be looked at, what I'm saying? I might not be the person that you wanted to look at you, but I'm
Mhm.
here, what I'm saying? So that's one part. The other part is, as my friend Dave Chappelle once said, in a lot of cases, not all cases, but a lot of cases, especially when we talk about facial reconstructions and of the such, even some injections, you look like you've done something that's not real. You know what I'm saying? I can see if you get your nose redone, but it does. No one can tell that you got your nose redone. But if you're like these, no one is born like this. It's known that what I'm saying, you've done something. So is it really beautiful when what you've done is so blatant that we know that you've done something to change
Mhm.
you? You understand?
Well, I'll address.
So those are the two.
I'll address the
There you
latter
go.
first. I think it goes back to what you said earlier. It's like they take what we considered objectively beautiful and made it become like we supersized it. We just we put beauty on we put we over amplified it, and so that's why you got. Because I just
Okay.
finished
Okay.
watching The Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. He's like 75, but he has the straight Botox face, and and then like
Yeah. With the human growth, that he's
beautiful.
injecting like three times
Yeah,
a day.
and
Yeah.
then the first point that you made about that's always for me as a man I can never understand what a woman goes through, so I would never address what a woman goes through in life or
No,
whatnot. I
definitely. Yeah.
think men should respect women no matter what in every situation, but at the same time I don't think catcalling a woman catcalling a woman can really be hurtful to a woman. So but
Okay.
these women, they know it is a price too. I don't know. I can't really address that question. I just
Okay. Okay. No. No.
don't know
No. Okay. Okay.
what to say about that. I think it's nothing wrong with
Okay.
a man admiring a woman's beauty and stuff like that. I think some women take that too far. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, why that guy is talking to me? It's like, well, you're a beautiful girl. You know what I'm saying? You're just
Yeah.
not attracted to him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But a lot of
Yeah.
men cross those
No, definitely.
boundaries too. So who am I to say?
They do. No. No. Definitely. I'm not.
Who am I to
Saying that.
say
Yeah. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that.
what's affect women? And women should be able to do whatever they want to without being harassed. Well, I'm a
Okay.
firm believer in that. So
Okay.
but
No, no,
yeah,
definitely, definitely, without a doubt.
yeah,
All of us should be able to do whatever we want to, whether it's
mhm,
for the best of us or for the worst
yeah,
of us, be able to do what we want to do without being harassed about
yeah,
it. All right, no, because like I said, I want to go on into the fact of gene modifying. There are a lot of things like you said before, Sylvester Stallone or even some Arnold's. They're shooting up human growth testosterone daily, and like I said, if you're able to deal with it, that's fine, right? And this has even bled over into some of the sports where a lot of these synthetic growth hormones um, are even undetectable by a lot of the traditional contemporary blood and urine and hair sample tests. So sometimes it's unable, and a lot of times we might find athletes might do they might dope just because they say, you know what, for sure, one of my other, opponents is doping. So for sure, I want to be able to keep up with him. So I'm a dope too. And it might not be the case, or it might be the case. And I think that that's kind of like the domino effect that happens even when we talk about beauty um, modifications. A lot of times, a lot of people say, everybody, okay, you know what? I first kind of downplayed, breast implants, but now, everyone else is getting them. I see how successful they are, Not with attracting people, but, with feeling self confident, like you said before. Everyone does these things for their own reasons, It can be multiple reasons, it can be multi pronged reasons. But when they see that it's starting working, starting to work, then they start to do it because it's being tested and it's being popularized and it's not being objectified, but it's being pushed to the masses. So if we all say that yellow and black is yellow and black, that doesn't mean that yellow and black is yellow and black, but that's what we all come to the consensus to. And what I want to know is that does that mean that we're going to start, okay, you know what? Because society says that blue eyes are nice, we're going to CRISPR-9 our children or seek DNA our children so that when they're born with blue eyes or red hair
mhm,
or broad shoulders or, or I don't know, be well endowed or be 6 foot taller, because at the moment it's still in its earlier stages, but
mhm.
and the DNA is really, really, really long and very, very difficult to interpret. But we're getting there every day. We're getting closer and closer to finding particular sections where we can modify um, particular things. And like I said, it's initial purposes for fighting because they've already been able to fight to genetically modify to fight off and stave off sickle cell anemia, I believe.
Mhm.
They're working for muscular dystrophy, with hopes in the future for other type 1 diabetes. People who are born with diabetes, things like this, and maybe even some different forms of cancer. And those are the initial ambitions to it. But when someone says, "Oh, you know what? I could be modified," so I don't have sickle cell
Mhm.
anemia. But if I can do that, couldn't I also have blonde hair? You understand?
Yeah,
Couldn't I also not age? Because there are also some other things which they are using to make or other anti-aging agents or anti-aging
mm.
products out now that are actually becoming very, very, very effective.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Well, for aging,
but
metformin is very
what does that? So
good.
yeah, but for those, like I was saying before, when we talk about the athletes, what about those who say, you know what, I believe in pure natural beauty? You know what I'm saying? What about those when they're in a society where they're overburdened with those, with the majority who's doing so many things that are anti-aging, which are non-natural? What do they do? Do they just become
We,
obsolete?
I
You
think
know?
there's two things that's going on. I think that unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that's just the nature of a progressing society, especially that's progressing exponentially with with technology. So that you know what's norm now. Breast implants are norm now. Getting Botox is the norm now. In 10,
Okay.
15 years now, getting
Exactly.
CRISPR-9 for your kids may be the norm now. That's just that's how things kind of evolve. So that is for good or bad. That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Back in the now everybody has an iPhone, but people didn't have iPhones back in the days. You know what I'm saying? Or some type of a smartphone.
Yeah.
So everything just progressed technology, and we're
Yeah.
using it with our aesthetics, with our face too. We all everybody has nice clothes now. Unless even homeless people can have nice clothes because
Yeah.
nice clothes is easily accessible
Yeah.
because we have such an abundance of nice clothes. And eventually, the technology to look quote unquote beauty be so accessible and so inexpensive, everyone would be getting these processes, that would just be the new norm, good or bad. But the other thing at play is, I think, before there used to be, especially in America, but I think in a lot of America, there was like this one ideal of what beauty was, like being thin and tall and blonde or blue eyes.
Yeah.
I think the other
Yeah.
thing that counters that now is kind of cool to be whatever you are in a lot of segments of our
Yeah.
population. You can be overweight, you can be brown, you can be black, you can be Indian, whatever. Beauty, the concept of beauty is definitely much more broad than what it used to be back in the days. Because back in the days, if you're not a tall white guy with a strong jawline, you're just a normal looking person. So I think
Yeah.
that concept of beauty has definitely evolved. So that I think that's a good thing. Hmm. So, but
Okay. No, I agree with you. If that's true, I agree with you completely. But the only problem is I don't really think that that is true.
okay.
Based off my individual experiences, and I have this when I often poll my
Mhm.
classes to see, saying I like to see always, with those guys, saying like how much things have changed since when we were in school and now that they're in school. And since I am constantly working with teenage students, I have a teenage daughter who, who's always, saying, always filling me in on about her life and, saying her friends and lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm thinking, like, I remember I often polled the kids on the fact of like, okay, do you think because here in Italy the high schools don't wear school
Mhm.
uniforms, okay, and they even have at most a very lenient dress code, but they don't have uniforms. I just throw it out there all the time. Say most of my class, almost all my class, I always ask them. I say, how many of you think that uniforms would be better? And it's always a constant no, right, Joe. We want to wear our own clothes. And I always ask them, and I always think about when we were younger too, so when we were teenagers. And I'm saying, because, my point of view when I'm looking at it, I'm trying to look at it both from a old person point of view, which I am now, uh, trying not to forget how I was as a teenager, and then taking a step back and looking at it objectively. So from my old person objective point of view, I try to think of it like, it would be easier for deciding what you have to wear tomorrow. You know, buy two or three uniforms, saying that saves the family so much money because there are a lot of people who can't keep up with the Joneses. Like we said before, they can't get those breast implants or buy those new Jordans. They can't get the Botox, saying, or saying those that new Pyrex or that new Supreme shirt hoodie that costs 500 euros or $500, which is fucking crazy. That's one thing, right? And I'm thinking about saying here it's a lot less than it was in America. But if you remember when we were in school, if you weren't wearing that brand, if you weren't wearing brand name clothes, you were ridiculed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You were ridiculed and you were ostracized and you were excluded.
Mhm.
So And I find that here it exists too, not so much, what I'm saying, but they're like, hey, that dude, he wore that same shit, he wore that same outfit, that same fit 2 days ago, you know what I'm saying? Nigga, wash up, nigga, you dirty, you know what I'm saying? So those are what that's what happened with us, at least with what I'm saying, in my class, what I'm saying, and something similar happens here also, so when I think about it, the kids are always like, no, because, and their main ideal is that no, we want to not wear uniforms so that we can express our
Mm-hmm.
individuality. But their individuality are all of the same brand names that all of the other students abide to and promote. So, are you really being individualistic when you are still keeping up with the Joneses? Okay, I might like this polo, Ralph Lauren polo, blue shirt, while everyone else is getting the red one. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still kind of keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I'm saying? So does that really change? You know what I'm saying? Is it really individualistic? Is it really unique when you are, yes, being individualistic, but still based off of society? And I think the same thing when we talk about preferences and beauty. I think that a lot of times what a lot of people think of is beauty. What is beauty? Uh, I think that a lot of times what a lot of people think what is beauty is the fact that when we think of something, but we think of it because we think it's nice, and or we think how society thinks of us if we think that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So if I see something that we would consider, I don't know, objectively ugly, like for example, I don't know, a piece of shit on a plate, I say, wow, that's beautiful. Wait a minute. If I said that, how would society look at me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You know, no one thinks that's beautiful. Like, so if I thought like a whole platter of shit, piss, and vomit. And I know that there's a group that that has that. I'm like, okay, at least I have a group that I can be included in. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's kind of still based off of this inclusion, which we've also talked about in our previous podcasts. That our tastes are what our tastes are. Sometimes, like you said before, and I think the base, the at the core of things is that sometimes some of us are not aware what our real tastes are because a lot of our tastes are, or our so-called tastes, are based off of
Mm-hmm.
society, and even tastes that go away from what's streaming, what's the mainstream. We still have those tastes because we know that we still have a group that we can be included in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like to be completely excluded. And we talked about
Mm-hmm.
this before. I think it's bad actually. I think that as a race or a species of communication, of interaction, we have to always be included in something. But at what detriment? To the detriment of our true selves. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like you said before. I'm sorry for going long on this. But like you said before, I think that it is an evolution
Yeah.
of humanity. But at one point, we might even lose our humanity,
Mm.
and that's what I want to say. Is that possible? Do you think that there's a point where we could probably you lose our humanity
Well,
by being so say evolving?
well, I think that's
You
well.
know,
First thing, when you talk
because
about true self, what is our true self? I think our true self is an amalgamation of both our inner preferences, but also external preferences. No matter what, it's no hiding from that, unless you're just a hermit, like you're a pure hermit, and then you're still probably influenced by
yeah,
something too, also. And sometimes people try so hard to not be the culture, they become the anti culture. But the anti culture is a
yeah,
subculture of the main culture, no matter what. So many people try to be so
yeah,
opposite of what they are.
yeah, yeah,
So I think no matter what,
yeah.
that's just the nature of humanity. If we want to get on a deep spiritual level, I think we are just a group
Mm,
consciousness. So we affect
okay,
everybody. Everybody affects everybody, and I think that's how it works. Um, but uh, but are we losing our humanity? I don't know. That goes into like a
okay,
lot of things we talk about, like AI and robotics and stuff like that. You know,
okay,
maybe to even compete in definitely from an intellectual standpoint, that you're gonna have to be some type of a
mm,
cyborg to be able to compete. And
yeah,
pretty much our iPhones
yeah,
makes
no,
us
no,
like a cyborg. We have instant access to a computer
yeah,
right at our fingertips, so we're able to process information a lot
yeah,
faster. All the search engines have AI on it now, so we can able to create and organize things so much more fast, so more fast than ever before. So we're
mm,
using robots and technology to evolve. but that does come with a cost. We probably don't have that same level of interconnectedness, that same level of presence.
Mhm.
Especially the younger generation. There's a lot of them are so not present when they talk to you. When we were young, it was disrespectful to not look a person in their eye, especially an adult when they're talking to you. And
Yeah.
like even if we were adult,
It wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't disrespectful. You received some type of punishment if you didn't. You know what I'm saying?
exactly.
So
But like now,
yeah,
it's like
we never
not
got
and not all young people are like that. So that's an overbroad general. But a lot of them tend to be like even where I live with like a lot of just like maybe older Gen Zers, but like 24, 25-year old. A lot of like I live in the tech community, and these people don't even look across the street before they walk. It's like they're like just glued to their phone, and it's like I mean, and that's just like that sense of spatial awareness and presence that's very common to humans. You know, a lot of that is being lost because it's not being trained. It's like a muscle; it's not being trained. So we are
okay.
losing a little bit of that. Yeah. So.
But do you think by trying to modify ourselves, trying
Mhm.
to, like we said before, even like get into the genetics or whatnot, and this is something that we can even go more into depth in another cast. But yeah, but do you think that that would only further this how can I say um, this distance from what we are internally? Like you said, I agree with you. The fact that saying we are both our environment and our nature. You know what I'm saying?
I
But
absolutely agree. But I think, like I was saying, that it is going to make that's the always trying to modify our beauty to what we believe is an ideal or a standard is, and not accepting who we are is definitely going to make us less innately human, or what we define as human.
Mhm.
But I think, like I said earlier, I think there's another segment of our culture that's embracing being different, embracing of being content in what you have. And
Okay.
I don't think that was strong as it is now. I think now it's everywhere. Like, oh, you're beautiful no matter what. You're sometimes even to I think it's too much. It's like, no, you're not beautiful. No, be not.
It's extremist, but yeah,
But
yeah. Sometimes,
it's good
sometimes
though.
it may even be
It's
false.
kind of needed. It brings
Yeah,
balance to things. Like this,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
accept
yeah,
who you are. It's okay to accept who you are, but it's also
yeah.
I think the true balance is accept who you are, but also you should also strive to try to be better. You know, and so
Oh,
and if,
definitely, definitely. Because definitely, if we could stop, if we're fine the way we are
yeah,
right now, mentally, physically, etc., we can just end life
yeah.
right now. So yeah, always
But
trying to
But the
better yourself.
reality is, most
Mentally and
nearly
physically.
all people can look significantly better if they worked out and eat healthy. their,
I mean, yeah,
their
that's the case. Yeah,
skin to clear up,
yeah. If they ate well, if they ate
their
well,
skin
yeah,
to clear
exactly,
up, their
exactly.
sleep better, the wrinkles will disappear, all of the above, and that's natural. And
Yeah.
that's that. But people don't want to do that; they want the quick fix. So
But
that's the
that
whole.
but that contradicts that's oxymoronic with today's
Yeah.
society of freneticism, always being in a
Yeah.
rush. You know what I'm saying? Even though I get to bed, even though once I get home, I can actually have 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep, but I only get three because I spent three of those online. You know what I'm saying? Another two on Facebook, another two on Instagram, and I'm like, oh damn, look at the time. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? And waking up, saying rushing out the house instead of having a seat to have breakfast, saying you're eating on the run. Saying if you're having breakfast,
Mhm.
what I'm saying. So, yeah, but definitely, yeah, but I see that, saying that we have a particular trajectory. And like I said, who am I to say that it's wrong or right? Saying for sure, what our ancestors, what our forefathers, what 8 or 9 generations ago may never thought that, saying, being able to interact with other people, saying, not only white people thinking that about black people, but even black people, white people, or other religions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are things that were, saying were unfathomable, saying, decades and maybe even centuries ago. Whereas now, saying these are things that are more acceptable, saying. But at the same time, I think those things still always introduce um, things that are natural with our interaction. But when we always go back to saying modifying ourselves, it's still not us.
I
What I'm
agree.
saying? You can modify yourself by, like you said before, by going to the gym. And who's to say that going to the gym is the same? You know what I'm saying? Actually, if I get a couple of shots, I go to the gym once a week. Dude, I can do the same thing. So you stupid, Richard, because you going to the gym 4 times a week. I only go once. You know what I'm saying? So somebody can say that too. You know what I'm saying? But I think we end up creating a precedent, like you said before, because, or even when I brought up the analogy with the athletes, I'm gonna dope. I'm gonna use some human growth because it's very difficult to detect it, and it's very probable that three-fourths of my opponents are using it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So why not? So I want to be prepared. So I want to be so I'm going to do it. So what I'm saying, you want to get some gene or some CRISPR-9, CRISPR Cas9 gene modification. Why shouldn't I too? I want to be what I'm saying, competitive also. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, at what point should competitive or should beauty be competitive? You know what I'm saying? If we always want to think of beauty as something that's objective, it should never be competitive.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Excellent.
A two is a two is an objective two. Beauty shouldn't, and you can't compete that. You know what I'm saying, right? If I want to say this person is more beautiful than the next person, that means that you're trying to make some type of competition where you have to judge, and we all know that judgments are always subjective.
Mhm.
You understand? So that's what I want to. That's the main thing I want to get at. I want to say that I think that it's not a shame, but I just think that I don't look at it as a very positive thing that society has come to the point where being, saying, beautiful to the point where we're changing ourselves genetically, saying, or super physically, like, adding parts to our body to be competitively beautiful. I think that that's where the line should be drawn, being competitively more intelligent, having a chip, saying inserted in our brain to help us out, do function, a contact lens to help us see better, that I can see that, but beauty should be always subjective. And I think that to close up in an oxymoronic way, for me at least, what I'm saying, is the fact that I think that beauty should be objectively
Mhm.
subjective. I know that sounds strange, but that's the way I think it is. And the moment it becomes competitive, it's no longer objective, because you're always competing, like you said. It's cool that now we have a lot of people. Okay, we like bigger people, we like thinner people, we like people who are taller, people who are shorter. That's more accepted, and that's great. But also at the same time, we're